He says someone has to come up with a strategy.
No, Democrats don't like that. Democrats don't like strategy. They like to pay influencers to pretend like Democrats are perfect, but they don't like to listen to their base. They loathe their base. I mean, how many election cycles have they made that abundantly clear? They loathe their own voters. So they hire these like pubescent like influencers on TikTok to pretend as if the Democrats are perfect and they're totally kicking ass when they're not. They didn't offer anything in the last election. They gaslit Americans who were concerned about very serious issues within the country. And when you do that, you create a vacuum in which Republicans come in, Donald Trump comes in, and he's like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, so look guys, unfortunately.
Boy. So we got to talk about Anna Kasparian, who is going to go off on Kamala Harris and the Democrats for gaslighting the country. And then Kamala Harris is out here trying to take a victory lap because she believes that she has the high ground to say, I told you so about President Trump, even though it's only been, 3 to 4 months? And I think that President Trump has done a great job, to be honest with you, right? I mean, we have illegals being deported left and right. All of the woke stuff has come to a complete and total halt, right? We're about to end the war in Ukraine, okay? We're currently ganging up on China. The economy is going to be a lot better when these tax cuts get passed. Tax cuts that are going to the middle class. And who knows? There are rumors out there that the administration could possibly think about taxing the rich in order to fund tax cuts for the middle class.
Budget bill over tax and spending cuts. Fox has told Trump moved some potential no votes to yes votes. You've been meeting on Capitol Hill now for weeks, but House Freedom Caucus Chairman Andy Harris now says he's open to the creation of a 40% tax bracket for those earning $1 million or more. So, Mr. Secretary, are you planning on keeping taxes high, raising taxes for the rich in order to get the tax cuts like no tax on tips through?
Maria, the negotiations are moving along quickly. I don't want to talk about anything that's in the bill. That it's crazy to negotiate and they talk about specific things in a public forum. But I will tell you that the progress has been substantial, and I want to compliment the Speaker Johnson, Leader Thune, Senator Crapo, and the Chairman Smith. Just so you know, the House has been working on their bill for almost a year, and in anticipation that we would be here. Leader Thune and Senator Crapo are moving this through the Senate very quickly, and with President Trump's leadership, President Trump is now weighing in with his preferred policies, and as you know, he is remarkably persuasive, especially when he speaks to Republican congressmen.
Yeah, so the reason why I bring that up is because it's going to be hilarious to see how Democrats attack President Trump if they actually create a new tax bracket for people making over $1 million a year in order to fund tax cuts directly to the middle class, right? Democrats all of a sudden are going to be out here defending the rich, right? Just like they're boo-hoo-whining and crying about the rich losing some money in the stock market, right? Ain't it funny how that works? And no, I am not pro-taxing the rich, okay? I'm for tax cuts for everybody. But if they have to raise taxes on the rich in order to give tax cuts directly to the middle class, not handouts, but tax cuts, then hey, I guess it's tolerable, right? It's a tolerable thing. Okay, I'm just saying that for Democrats, the Trump derangement is going to make this a very, very, very awkward thing to come out against. Just like it was very awkward for Democrats to defend Joe Biden, who clearly was mentally declining in front of the world. And now all of a sudden Democrats are coming out and telling the truth that no, what you saw was not a cheap fake, right? It was not a right-wing conspiracy theory. It was actually Joe Biden falling apart, okay? And reporters like Chuck Todd, who is now independent after basically getting fired from NBC and Meet the Press, he admitted that, yeah, the liberal media basically did not want to report on Joe Biden's mental decline due to the fact that they didn't want to help Trump win. This is what this guy admitted on Piers Morgan's show. Take a look.
I sit here and I'll defend a little bit of this in that I would argue the reason people were able to come to their own conclusion on Joe Biden is because of the media coverage. You know, look, we were subtle. He's using the back staircase. He's not using the front staircase. Hey, he's not doing any interviews. So there was this reluctance to draw the conclusion to say, is he not doing this? And that I agree with. That was held back a lot. I would argue it was also held back a lot back in the late 80s when it was clear Ronald Reagan wasn't necessarily running everything in the White House. Whether you want to call it decorum, whatever you want to call it, look, there were plenty of members of the media. I remember David Ignatius in the Washington Post, plenty of individual people questioning whether he should run. I certainly questioned whether he should run. You didn't understand, there were some of that. But I understand the argument about the collective on that front. The only thing I can chalk it up to is this, whatever you want to call it, this fear that some members of the media had sometimes that they would be perceived as helping Trump if they somehow diminished Biden, right? That it was some sort of zero-sum game. Mm-hmm. And I think this has been the fundamental mistake that many members of the traditional press have done.
Yeah. So again, they're admitting out loud that yes, we gaslit the American people on Joe Biden's mental condition, which was just one of many things that the Democrats gaslit America on. And again, that is a part of why Anna Kasparian is so upset with Kamala Harris coming out here and saying, I told you so, very prematurely against President Trump, because one of the reasons why she lost is because of the gaslighting from the Democrat Party. And the fact that she's coming out here and saying, I told you so, despite just losing in the election. Again, a lot of people are just pissed off, right? It's not rubbing people the right way. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
We are seeing organizations stay quiet. We are seeing those who are capitulating to clearly unconstitutional threats. And these are the things that we are witnessing each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably creates a great sense of fear. Because, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here to say I told you so.
I'm just going to go to you because, no, I'm going to say it. You were a crappy candidate. And you were part of a group of people who provided cover for a man who was falling apart mentally speaking, but decided to run anyway. Decided to stay in the race for a month after that disastrous debate against Donald Trump. And then when Biden, the most unpopular sitting president, called you up before the debate and told you, remember, kiddo, no daylight between us, do not differentiate yourself from me, you listened. So to sit there or stand there and give a speech about, oh, I told you so, I told you so. These are the worst people, man. They really are, okay? No, we all knew what Donald Trump was. We all knew. And for all the Democratic ass kissers out there who provided cover for the bad behavior of that administration, they directed their ire toward people like us who kept warning the Democrats, you're gonna lose to Trump, you're gonna lose to Trump, you're pushing unpopular policies, you're gaslighting Americans on the issue of immigration. If you do that, that creates an opening for someone like Donald Trump to come in and do what he's doing in regard to mass deportations, do what he's doing in regard to literally deporting people before they even have a single day in front of a judge to adjudicate whether or not they're undocumented, to adjudicate whether or not they're actually gang members.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if they're actually gang members. The only thing that matters is if they're here illegally, right? If they're here illegally, then they can be deported, right? They were rightfully deported if they were here illegally, right? That's it. That's the only thing that matters when it comes to that. But yes, he is doing the things that we voted him into office to do. And I am very satisfied with President Trump at this point, okay? I'm happier than I've ever been.
Yeah.
So for all, by the way, all the left-wing media folks who directed their ire toward me, and they're like, oh, you see that? Anna's getting what she wants. No, I'm not getting what I wanted. I wanted Democrats to stop gaslighting American citizens and acknowledge what was going on in the country and provide their solutions for it.
Too much to ask for.
Too much to ask for. Anna's the problem. Oh, big, strong, big, bad Anna. With all of her power, she's the one who swung the election, right? Can't stand these people. They're the worst. They're the worst.
Okay.
Yo, I never get tired of these rants. I never, ever, ever get tired of these rants. But she's right. She's right. The leftists are the worst, right? These are the worst people. And they are obsessed. They are obsessed with attacking this woman, right? They really are. Okay, there's a whole ecosystem of losers, right? Weirdos and freaks that all they do is attack Anna Kasparian all day. Now, I may disagree with Anna on a lot of things, but when it comes to her evaluation of the Democrat Party, I think that she is spot on. Okay, the Democrats have gaslit everybody for the last 4 years straight. And then for Kamala Harris to come out here and say, I told you so, after she was like the worst candidate ever, right? She and her incompetence is part of the reason why she lost, okay? Yeah, to come out here and to say, I told you so is crazy to me, right? Especially considering how I think we would be in a much worse situation if Kamala Harris was elected, right? If Kamala Harris was elected, our borders would be wide open. We'd be looking at massive tax increases and hyperinflation, right? That's exactly what would have happened. Plus, the Looney Tunes, the woke revolutionaries, they would have been emboldened, right? We would have seen more crazy stuff in this country than we've ever seen, right, under Kamala, right? Especially, again, when it comes to the far-left woke agenda, right? So it really is a blessing that she didn't win. It really is. And again, for her to come out here and say, I told you so, it's crazy to me. She just lacks self-awareness, right? Because a lot of people really looking back at it are like, wow, Kamala Harris was so bad, right? So bad. How did she lose to Trump? Considering how basically the world was against Trump, right? Everybody was against Trump, and he still won. He still beat Kamala Harris. But to be fair, I think President Trump would have beat any Democrat. That is how terrible the Democrat Party is. And again, that's not an indictment on President Trump. No, that's actually an indictment on the Democrat Party more so than anything, because again, they have every advantage in the world against President Trump. The media is on their side, academia is on their side, business was on their side. At one point, culture was on their side. They had everything on their side at one point, and President Trump still came back from the grave and beat them.
Let alone me. I'm going to start with a small thing and then get bigger. So first, I also can't stand her dramatic pauses that never lead to anything. Like, you're supposed to do the pause if you're really gonna deliver a point. Like,
I can't stand them.
Every politician is taught this. She's so bad at it. They're always anticlimactic. Okay, that's minor. Now you get to the laugh, right? So guys, if anyone can say told you so, I would argue that it's us. And I would say even more specifically me. Okay, so why?
Yeah, you can say I told you so about Biden, right? But you really can't say I told you so about Kamala, because Jake thought that Kamala would win. Again, he's going to come out here and claim that, oh, we told you so about Biden. But that was easy, right? That was really easy, right? It was really easy to say that, oh, Biden was going to lose to Trump, right? Anybody could see that, okay, unless you were in the liberal media. But when it comes to Kamala, being a bad candidate, I don't think a lot of these people actually saw it, okay? But there was a cult out there, okay, of Kamala supporters that basically told everybody, no, you don't understand, she's doing amazing, right? She doesn't need to answer any questions. She doesn't need to do interviews, right? She doesn't need to do any of these things. And then the interviews she would do, the terrible town halls that she did, they try to spin it into the best thing ever, right? She's amazing, right? That's what they did in the media. So yes, there was a whole lot of gaslighting. And yes, people were shamed and shunned for telling the truth about what was going on in the Democrat Party, right? That did happen.
And then let's talk about the difference in the told you so's. Number one, a year and a half ago, we started a campaign, now even longer, I think, to get Biden out of the race. Why? Because we weirdly hate Biden? No, I mean, I'm not a fan of Biden's, but the reason to get him out of the race that early was because he was going to lose to Trump. And what I kept saying on the show, and we did a petition and Young Turks viewers signed it, they should get all the credit. They were prescient enough all the way back then to say, guys, we're not going to beat Donald Trump with a guy who can't talk. We at the Young Turks, our viewers have eyes and ears. And we can see that he's super old, can't finish his sentences, mumbles, repeats. He's a disaster. And his popularity is in the 30s. And for an incumbent in the 40s, you always lose. In the 30s, it's almost impossible to win. So these are just facts. He'd lost Latinos, he'd lost young people. It was nearly impossible to win. So we were the ones who cared the most about Democrats winning and Trump losing. So we're like, can you please try to win? And be like, how dare you? Winning is not important, even though we're saying democracy's on the line and the other side is Nazis. Winning is not nearly as important as protecting Democratic leadership. So if Joe Biden, the incompetent man with obvious dementia, if the Mad King says he's staying in the race and we're gonna lose, we all have to bow to the Mad King. You, Young Turks host and audience, and all of you, you guys defying the Mad King is a much bigger crime than Joe Biden's giant ego saying, I don't care if I have dementia, I want it to be me and only me. And I don't care if I lose to Trump, as long as it's me, that egomaniac fool and all of his advisors put us on the ship headed straight toward an iceberg. And we kept screaming, it's an iceberg straight ahead. And they would yell at us, oh, look at these guys warning about an iceberg.
All right, so Democrats hate democracy, right? Democrats hate democracy. And since Democrats hate democracy so much, why do y'all keep supporting them? Why don't y'all just stop voting for Democrats? I was about to say, maybe you should, I don't know, join the other team. But I don't want them to join the other team. I want people like Jake, just don't vote, bro. Just quit politics altogether. Because Democrats, they don't care about democracy within their own party, right? You don't get a vote. You don't get a say. They're gonna keep doing what they're doing, okay? And as long as you guys keep supporting them because you hate Trump, then they're gonna keep doing it. There are no consequences. So I'm just saying, if you really want change within the Democrat Party, like you claim, right? Since it seems as if you're only willing to support Democrats, then just don't participate at all. Just don't vote. Just boycott the Democrat Party. You don't have to vote Republican. Just don't vote for Democrats. If you know all this, how can you turn around and continue to support the party, right? At least in the Republican Party, you can say what you want. There is democracy, right? There is democracy. Okay, they definitely didn't want Trump to win in 2015/2016, but he still won because we have democracy. Can't say the same thing about Bernie in the Democrat Party. Can't say the same thing about them.
Your fault, you created the iceberg. No, we didn't, you incompetent fools. Then what did we say? Once Biden finally dropped out and we were 100% right, we said do an open convention. Please do an open convention. Obama and Pelosi didn't endorse Kamala Harris. They didn't endorse because they know she's a disaster. Biden did endorse because he knows she's a disaster and he wanted her to lose so he could say his version of I told you so. My career is so much more important. As we
yeah, so you see that, you heard that, okay? Hey, like I said, I don't understand how you are one of these people on the progressive left. You know that this is how the Democrat Party operates, right? You know they're full of it, okay? Why do you continue to support them, right? Stop supporting them. Stop voting for them, okay? I'm not saying you got to vote Republican. In fact, I don't want you to vote Republican because you might vote for a liberal. So just quit politics, right? Just don't vote, right? Just say, you know what, I'm bowing out, okay? Because Democrats don't have any solutions, right? They don't have any solutions. But who knows? It seems as if the progressive base of the Democrat Party, they could possibly take over, right? But at the same time, it also seems like they want Kamala, right? Kamala is the front runner right now for 2028. So we'll see, right? If Democrats rerun Kamala again, yeah, I think they're going to be disappointed. And I think that's going to drive people insane, right? I think that Democrats rerunning Kamala is going to destroy the Democrat Party because I think there's a lot of people that saw Kamala's incompetence that are like, no, we don't want her again, right? And there are a lot of people who are just going to support her because she's a black woman and that she didn't get a fair shot against Trump, right? And they're going to support her no matter what. And if that's the case, yeah, the Democrat primary is going to be like fireworks, bro. Like, it's going to be the most entertaining show on television. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.